Ik ben ontzettend trots vandaag Katie Lens te mogen interviewen. Zij is een van de belangrijkste bijdragers van In Mijn Nieuws. En vandaag op Real Estate Connect heb ik de gelegenheid om haar een paar vragen te stellen waarvan ik denk dat die ook heel belangrijk zijn voor de Nederlandse makelaar. Well, Katie, thank you very much for the opportunity to let me ask you some questions for the Dutch realtors. And
great to be here. Thank you for asking me.
yeah, well, I think the Dutch realtors can learn a lot from the situation here in the States. And I saw you on stage, and you mentioned a lot of things. So I'd like to recapitulate some of them and ask you some questions about that.
Sure,
what do you think? What product, service, or tool or technological development has made the biggest impact on real estate agents here in the States for the last 2 years?
Well, it's hard to pinpoint just one thing, but I would say really two things, if you don't mind me saying two. So number one would be mobile. You know, I think more and more agents and brokers are realizing that they really need to have a mobile strategy, that really the screen that they're looking at on their phone isn't the third screen, it's the first screen. And so, you know, as people are searching for real estate and for homes, if your site's not optimized for mobile, you're missing a big portion of your audience. So I think that's the first thing. And then the second one would really be social media. You know, we've seen a huge influx in social media, especially in the last 12 months, certainly in the last 2 years. And it's an area where an agent or a broker, they can't ignore anymore.
I agree totally with that. I can see the same in Holland, actually, especially for mobile. And like you said, social media has made a huge jump, actually, in the past 12 months. If you had to choose one tool for a realtor, then what would it be today?
One tool. Well, to be honest, I obviously am a little biased as far as social media. I'm the social media director for Inman News. I would really say Facebook. You know, Facebook has 800 million users. It is the #1 social network worldwide, and it's really the gathering place for people to meet, to interact, to generate leads and grow their business. And we're seeing that agents are really growing their business, not just on business pages, but through their personal profiles, through groups, through advertising, and really looking at the whole picture. And so, you know, for an agent or realtor to not be on Facebook, I don't even think it's an option anymore. I mean, so practically the whole world is on Facebook, and especially here in the United States, that's a huge thing. I just can't see that going away anytime soon.
No, when I look at the stats in Holland, I saw an increase from last March. We had 3.4 million users in a country with 16 million, and 3.4 last March, and we grew to 5.8 at the beginning of January. So that was a major increase, actually.
Incredible.
Yeah.
That just goes to show. I mean, pretty soon at least half your population will be on Facebook. You know, and the world is, so you can't ignore that.
Right. What do you think are the 4 most important trends at the moment?
Well, as far as trends, again, mobile, I think that's a huge trend, is mobile optimizing your site, and also looking at mobile advertising. You know, Facebook is talking about bringing mobile advertising to their platform, so I think that'll be a huge opportunity for real estate agents. Another big trend is really making the most of your website, blogging, having a WordPress platform or some platform where you can control the content and not have to go to someone else who's a web developer and it takes 3 days or a month to update your site, but having control over your content. The other big trend would be content creation and content curation. I don't think a real estate agent or a broker can have a marketing plan without having a content plan. It doesn't mean they need to be a writer, but they need to incorporate either photos or videos or some sort of content about not just real estate, but the area that they live in. You know, one of the best things about a real estate agent or realtor is they know so much about their local community. So incorporating that information and their experience into their marketing, that's a huge trend that we see coming down the pipeline. It's happening now, but for sure in 2012.
Yeah, so what you're saying is, let me say, that the last or the fourth trend.
Oh,
No, yeah, but that's okay. Would be to incorporate all those local knowledge you have as a realtor and share that with your community.
Absolutely, yeah. Being able to share that local knowledge, and you know, not being afraid of creating content. I think sometimes we think of creating content and we have to write an essay or a long form article, and it doesn't have to be that way. It could literally be a photo of your favorite park and 2 or 3 sentences about why this is such a fantastic park to visit. And it's little things like that that will position a realtor as the local expert, as the person who knows their community better than anyone. So that's a huge opportunity right there.
It's completely different compared to the fact that a lot of agents are, well, normally they want to share only information about the listings.
Exactly, right. A lot of agents think that, well, that's the main thing I have to get out is I have to promote my listings, and there's definitely an opportunity to promote listings on social media or some of these other platforms, but I think we have an opportunity to do it in a creative way. So instead of saying, oh, I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, beautiful home with a spacious kitchen, we can tell a story. And maybe we do a video of the homeowners and they tell the story of their home and why it's so special. Or we take a really amazing picture of the backyard and we highlight a special feature of that. So getting a little creative and really telling the story and getting people engaged, because that's what people are going to like and they're going to share and they're going to tell their friends about versus, oh, it's just another home for sale. So there's a huge opportunity right there.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing that with us as well. What do you think how the realtor will work in 5 years? So how will be changing?
I think we're going to see a huge growth in 5 years. You know, so many people are purchasing things just, you know, directly through obviously through websites. They're going right to the source, and they're sort of eliminating the middleman. And so I wonder, you know, are agents going to be eliminated? I don't know. I don't think in 5 years that will happen, but I think more and more we'll see where people want to go straight to the homeowner or straight to the buyer and do that transaction, and there's going to be an even bigger opportunity for the realtor to really showcase their experience and to show, yes, I do more than just push the papers. You know, I do more than just take a pretty picture of your house. Let me show you my expertise. So these next 3 to 5 years are going to be really critical for a real estate agent to up their game, up their education, be on top of technology, and not to rest on their laurels, because things have changed and things are changing quickly.
So are you saying because the world is changing, the realtor has to change as well?
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to keep up with the times, for sure.
And when you look at those changes, and especially the social media, how to the United States realtors adapt to social media? Is there any reluctance?
Yeah, there's definitely some reluctance, not as much as it used to be. I think we're finally at the point where realtors are like, okay, I need to get on there. I know I need to, and now it's more of what's the best way and what's the best strategy. And that's really the advice I give realtors is don't just jump on because everyone's saying you have to, but think of your end game and think of your strategy of why you want to and what you hope to accomplish from that. So we're hoping in these next 12 months that that's the shift that we start to see, is people being a little bit more strategic. There's sort of a fine line between waiting too long and overanalyzing and diving in, but you know, that reluctance hopefully will soon pass, and people need to realize they need to be there. They need to be on Facebook, on Twitter, LinkedIn. Now there's Google+. There's so many different platforms out there. They can't afford not to be on those platforms.
And that's where Chris and you are working very hard on, aren't you?
Yes, we are. We have a website, Inman Next, inmannext.com, and we're publishing at least 2 articles a day on social media. And it's amazing how fast things are changing, and not just social media, but technology. And just what was true 6 months ago may not necessarily be true today. So our passion is really to look at the landscape of everything that's changing, because it's a little overwhelming, you know, all the different things that are happening. To look at the landscape and give agents the best information possible, sort of filter through it. So I'd encourage your listeners to check us out, because that's one thing we're really passionate about, is trying to bring the best.
I know, I follow you for quite some time.
Thank you.
What do you think? How many of the realtors today in the United States are actually using social media in percentages or whatever? I know you did a survey. It's a month ago, I think.
Yeah, we did a very extensive survey that just closed on January 2nd, and we looked at agents making over $100,000 a year, and we found some great, really interesting statistics. Out of the agents that we surveyed, 75% of those agents had a Facebook business page. And then in addition to that, not just a business page, but they were really growing their own personal networks. They also had, 50% of them had over 500 Facebook friends, and 30% of them had over 500 Twitter followers. So what that tells us is they're not just focused on, getting a page up and hoping I get a lot of likes. They're really working on their page, they're working on their personal profile, they're working on Twitter. And then the other interesting stat is how often they were posting and updating their profiles. And we found nearly 50% of top producing agents update their social media profiles at least once a day, if not more. So, that's something we've been talking about for a long time, and now we have this quantifiable data that says, yes, when you update your page more often, when you're on these platforms, it can lead to six-figure incomes. So, of course, there's other things like email marketing and everything else that a realtor does, but that makes a huge difference. So it was exciting to see those numbers.
It's very exciting. So you can actually say that agents that do use the social media besides some other more traditional marketing tools are really getting some profits out of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's not to say that traditional media has gone away. A lot of realtors are using direct mail, they're using print successfully. But what's exciting is with this new opportunity, it gives you new tools, and it allows you to do something that costs relatively less than placing an ad in the newspaper or sending out flyers or postcards. I won't say it's free because there's time, and your time is money. So it's just a whole new opportunity for real estate agents, and it's an exciting time.
And it will last longer.
Yeah, it's not going away by any means. This is a whole evolution, kind of like the email was when email first came out, people didn't really know how to respond to it or how to act with email, and you get an email and you wouldn't respond for a few days, and now it's like if you don't respond in a matter of minutes or hour, it's considered rude. So we're sort of seeing that with social media now. It's interesting.
Yeah, and like I said, it will last longer. It will last longer than when you have a print in a newspaper or something. Because it will stay on the internet, and others can find it later on.
Yeah, exactly. Once you post something on the internet, of course that's the scary part for some people, but it definitely has a longer shelf life. You put an ad in the newspaper and someone looks at it and then they throw it out or they recycle it. But on the internet it has a much longer life, and your goal is a lot longer. Your goal is not to have someone go on your Facebook page and immediately contact you right away. Of course that would be great, but it's a long-term strategy. So for someone who's embracing social media, which hopefully is a lot of people who are listening, is that you have to have a long-term strategy and realize that you may not see a result for a year or maybe even 2 years, but you have to stick with it and be consistent with what you do.
Thank you so much for sharing all this with us, and especially for the Dutch realtors. I have one last question.
Sure.
Do you have one golden tip?
One golden tip. Well, gosh, one. I would say the biggest thing is be consistent. I just said that a second ago. But if you only have 15 minutes a day to work on your social media or your content strategy, do it 15 minutes a day. Social media is one of those things where it's easy to do, but it's also easy not to do. And if you only do it once a month, it's not going to make any difference in your business, and you'll be frustrated. So be consistent and carve out time every day that you can devote to it. No more than an hour. I don't think an agent should be spending more than an hour. You have enough to do. You don't need to be on Facebook all day, but just be consistent and follow through, and you will be amazed. It's the agents that are doing it consistently are the ones that are seeing results.
Thank you very much, Katie Lens.